he wanted to be called Triple H, and the office was hesitating because of Double A.
What is going on, everybody? Listen, it is WrestleMania season. As of this taping, WrestleMania is over with. But it's going to be lots of fun, and I'm sure that lots of buzz, lots of debuts, or maybe not, successes, failures. We shall see where that turned out, but I'm sure you enjoyed it. I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. We have a lot to say about a man. He's named Paul Levesque. He calls himself The Game. And this guy was a very pivotal part in his rise in the WWE.
I gave him that name, you know.
You gave him Triple H?
The name. The name.
Okay.
The game I gave him.
Oh, you gave him the moniker.
But I don't know if people realize that, but it came out of a promo. He first said it in a promo. I forget. He said something like, I don't remember what he said, but it ended with him saying, "I am the game." It was a promo, and that turned into the moniker. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think it was something like, "Bro, I don't play the game. I am the game.
I am the game."
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think that's it, because it was a line in a promo that I wrote for him, and then he just ran with it.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. Hunter Hearst Helmsley was. I wasn't involved in the creative yet, so he kind of adopted that name before I got there.
Okay.
But the funny thing about that, bro, another inside story, just so you know.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, bro, I'll never forget this. They really, really, really were hesitant. He wanted to be called Triple H, and the office was hesitating because of Double A, Arn Anderson, and they wouldn't allow Hunter to call himself Triple H. And I'm like, bro, it's two completely different things. But it was a fight at the beginning, bro. They did not want him to refer to himself as that.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, two different, companies at the time.
Yeah.
Two different eras.
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting. So I guess you all know where we're going with this, and we're going to talk about Triple H. And we saw with the interview, very interesting, very good, very poignant interview that he had with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, very controversial figure. It's the reason why he makes the big bucks. And I think it was a pretty good choice. I think interviewing Triple H was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed the interview. And
I thought it was a little, Chris, I got to be honest with you. I thought it was a little softballish.
You think so?
Well, I loved everything. I didn't love everything Triple H said. I loved that I saw shades of the Triple H that I knew and that I really loved and admired. But when he started getting into the philosophy of who the WWE, that's when he lost me. Because, bro, how can you say that's the philosophy based on what we're watching? But when he was talking about what he went through, it was very, very real, bro. And you could tell he was very, very, very emotional. But I don't know how Stephen A. Smith did not ask that question, because
that's because he makes the big bucks for ESPN. So of course they're going to bridle him to make sure that he doesn't go and ruffle any feathers.
Yes, agreed.
Right now, Stephen A. Smith's his net worth is $16 million.
Wow, God bless him, man. God bless him.
Yep. I knew he made $8 million, so it says his salary is $8 million. I didn't know that, but net worth $16 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, he's got a net worth of $16 million just talking about stuff he don't even know about. You know what I mean?
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. And he'll talk about it's like, you didn't even talk about boxing. I'll talk about boxing. You know what I mean? And I don't know who's going boxing now, but it's okay. Just give me the piece of paper. You know what
Stevie, I mean? I do the show with Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray hates Stephen A. Smith.
Does he really?
Hates him. He gets in a Stephen A. Smith jab every single
really?
show. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, he's the controversial figure who's making a bunch of money.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And so I imagine ESPN, of course, with interviewing and me as a journalist and things like that, I have the luxury of being well respected by my colleagues, and I'd have a lot of bridled, but I do know that if you're working for a company, there's certain things that they don't want you to say to protect their brand and things like that. Absolutely. So, and I can respect that. Absolutely. Even if I don't agree with it, I can still respect it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, he did ask, he was bringing back some old school things. You could tell Stephen A. doesn't really watch the product that much now. You can really tell in the interview that he didn't really watch the product. He did mention Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, but everybody knows who those two are, at least Brock Lesnar. And so he said something interesting. One of the segments, he did say something interesting about Triple H finding like a new wave of stars. So he was mentioning some old school names. He also mentioned Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And he mentioned, he kind of posed the question of, since he's going to be retired now, it's Triple H's job as a recruiter to find the new person. Who's that new guy? And Triple H said this. I actually grabbed this quote when I was watching it. He said, "Larger than life is what we're after. Nobody pays to see their next door neighbor. The next door neighbor lives next door. You don't have to pay. Just look out the window. They want to see someone larger than life who they can't believe exists." Now, I'm a big fan of that quote, but that's not a reflection of what we say today.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate, because I am gonna hope, Chris, they learn their lesson. I really believe, bro, and again, I always go back to the what's his face? Feed Me More, what's his name? Ryback I always go back to, where Ryback said Triple H told him there's not going to be another John Cena. Nobody's going to be bigger than the company. Mm-hmm. They did everything to live up to that word. And I said from the get-go, bro, people want to see television stars on TV, and I've used the next door neighbor scenario many times. So, bro, I want to believe they've learned their lesson. And here's why I believe that, Chris. They let a lot of next door neighbors go to AEW. They let a lot of guys that fit that mold go. So, yeah, bro. So I have to believe, bro. I honestly believe they came to the realization that was not working. There are no big stars, and they had to make a change. And like I said, I think the proof is in how many next door neighbors they let go to AEW.
That's a good point, Vince. I will say this though, it's still not the larger than life build though. That's the huge problem that I see. It's like, okay, if Bobby Lashley's my next door neighbor, I would look at him and be like, oh man, like this guy's ripped. You know what I mean? Where do you work out at? Let's work out together. Like that's what I would say to Bobby Lashley, like legit, if he was my next door neighbor, like let's do it together. But it's like, there's nothing that like, he has a presence, but if his presence isn't being highlighted correctly, he's just another guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right.
And that's what we get a lot when it comes to WWE programming. Your presence is already there. It's already on a platter here. Right. Like you don't have to do much here. Bobby Lashley, his presence is handed to the WWE on a platter. Yep. And what do they do with this on a platter?
Yeah.
They book him in a match with Omos.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
my point.
I mean, bro, and we can rattle off a dozen names like that. I just did Grado's show, and we were talking about Drew McIntyre. And at the end of the match, Corbin steals McIntyre's sword, and I'm like, bro, Drew McIntyre makes enough money that he could buy 1 million swords. Like, that should be the least of it. But you're exactly right, Chris, that they do have these larger than life characters, but they're not booking them that way. You're absolutely right about that, bro.
Yeah, and similar to the Drew point there, I mean, you have, again, another person on a platter.
Yeah,
he's
Bray
6'7". Bray's another one.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll go on and on.
Are you
here,
kidding?
bro.
Absolutely, Bray Wyatt. It just Drew is someone who's 6'7", 260 pounds, agile, athletic. And what do you do with him? You book him in a match against Corbin, which there's no disrespect to Corbin. He's a reputable name. I mean, as far as the WWE is concerned, not from a transcending the business name. And he hasn't created a big enough presence to really make sense or really be relevant in the match against Drew against WrestleMania. But if it's for, I try to look at the glass half full when it comes to like Drew and Corbin. And I'm like, you know what? If this was for the purpose of building Drew up to eventually start what we were talking about before, which, I reflected on that conversation, and I think that we really hit the nail on the head as far as what they really could do with Drew. Mm-hmm. And I really do think they start feeding legends to him. Like, as a babyface, they really need to build that, have him win the Money in the Bank match, feed Batista to him. I really want to see Drew Edge. We haven't seen that, as far as Edge is concerned. I really would like a Drew Edge, around that time, even if it's Royal Rumble. I would like, even if they don't turn Cena heel, babyface Cena comes back for SummerSlam. I'm cool with that. You mentioned Batista. I love the idea. They need to feed these legends to Drew on the way to WrestleMania. Otherwise, similar to what we're talking about, he's just another power. He's just another big presence on a platter being misused.
Agreed, 1,000%, bro. Yeah. I mean, again, and like I said, bro, that was always difficult for me as a writer, and that was always a great challenge because you did have these larger than life characters on a platter, and now you've got to write for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the presence, you got the McFoleys, you got the Rock, you got the presence, but now you've got to write to that level. And that's what you're saying, Chris. If you got a Drew here and a Lashley here, and the writing creative level is here, what happens, bro? This happens. Exactly. It needs to go like this. Yep. That's the difference, bro.
100%, man. And it's funny because you mentioned that as far as writing for those names, but you've mentioned this a lot, that you weren't too proud or too good, or too bigger than the talent to not get, suggestions from them.
Absolutely.
And that's and I appreciate that with you as a writer. And the problem is I see a lot of the opposite nowadays, though. I see a lot of the opposite of, if someone suggests something, then that is basically a condescending gesture, to
Chris, that and I know, they're thinking about their character 24/7, bro. When their head hits the pillow in the hotel room, they're thinking of the character. When they get up and they're in the shower and they're eating bread, they're constantly how do you not take that feedback from them? They're 100%. Thinking about the character way more than you are as the writer. How do you not take that, bro? I'll never be able to understand that, Chris, as long as I live.